I call the Earl of Kinnoul to ask the first question. The Earl of Kinnoul.
To ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
I call the Minister, Lord Frost.
My Lords, now that the Trade and Cooperation Agreement has been ratified, its committees and other bodies can indeed begin their work. None have met so far, but we will agree the date for the first meeting of each of these bodies with the EU shortly. We expect most to meet before the summer break. We also expect to fix a date for the first Partnership Council meeting, which is likely to be in the first half of June.
The Earl of Kinnoul.
My Lords, the TCA will be 6 months old at the end of June, and to hear of the lack of activity is dispiriting. Its multi-layered governance structure is incredibly important to getting the parties to iron out the problems and to discussing the next layer down of the detail of the new relationship. Could the Noble Lord the Minister tell the House by when all the bodies will have members appointed? And will he commit to publishing monthly basic statistics as to the number of meetings that are taking place to demonstrate activity?
My Lords, I agree it's extremely important that all the bodies created under the Trade and Cooperation Agreement should meet and work effectively. I can assure the Noble Lord there has been no lack of activity between me and my EU opposite numbers and my teams during this period, but I agree it will produce stability when these committees are working properly. We will do everything we can to ensure there is good transparency about meetings and what's discussed.
Lord Wood of Anfield.
My Lord, when the Minister resumes partnership meetings with the EU, presumably the Northern Ireland Protocol will be at the top of the agenda. Can you tell us what his response is to the President of the European Commission's remark on Monday that the Protocol, quote, is the only possible solution to ensure peace and stability in Northern Ireland while protecting the integrity of the single market? And as the co-architect of the Protocol, does he accept responsibility for the consequences of it that were widely predicted and which now seem to trouble him also so much?
So, my Lords, the question of the Northern Ireland Protocol will, I am sure, be on the agenda of the Joint Committee when that meets, which should be approximately the same time, first half of June. We've noted the comments of the Commission President earlier this week. The Protocol does rely on the support of all communities in Northern Ireland, so it is disappointing there wasn't more recognition from her of the impact that the operation of the Protocol is having in Northern Ireland, but we continue the discussions and hope to be able to find pragmatic solutions.
Lord Moylan.
My Lords, is my noble friend aware that many noble lords are rather relieved that this plethora of committees remains inoperative? They're wholly disproportionate to a trade agreement. We do not see the need for them, and the expense of their, no doubt, the caravan of secretariats they will no doubt bring with them. Would he agree to make it an objective of British government policy in his current discussions that their number and scope of activity be radically reduced?
My Lords, I share my noble friend's distaste for bureaucracy in all its forms, even though I have spent most of my life working in one. It's unfortunately characteristic, I think, of international relations nowadays that there is a substantial bureaucratic component to them, and we have to work with that. I do hope that the various committees which have been created will help us resolve problems as we move forward. And I can reassure my noble friends that the bureaucracy is at least much less than when we were a member of the European Union.
Lord Wallace of Saltaire.
My Lord, is it the government's objective, nevertheless, to get the full panoply of relations and committees working well, since we have to manage a very wide agenda of continuing close relations with the European Union? Or does the government have in mind that it could take the Swiss option, as it were, and break the series of complex negotiations and treaties which the Swiss have with the EU, and which, you know, as he will know, the Swiss have just done?
So the noble lord is right that the TCA, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, is an extremely broad treaty with a very wide agenda, and that's why it requires so many committees to make it work. It's certainly our objective, I can reassure him, to make sure that these committees work and that they meet, if at all possible, before the summer break. We have already exchanged with the EU lists of chairs of these committees, and I'm confident that we'll be moving forward fairly quickly on all this.
Baroness McIntosh of Pickering.
Does my noble friend agree that had the Trade Specialised Committee on SPS measures been set up and actually met, we might be in a better place as regards cross-border trade issues between Great Britain and Northern Ireland and between the UK and EU? Will he endeavour to ensure that it meets at least once before the end of June to resolve these issues?
My Lords, I'm not sure I agree, unfortunately, with my noble friend that we will be in a significantly different position if that committee had met. There have been quite a lot of discussions on SPS issues in various contexts over the last few months, despite the fact that the committee has not met formally, but we have not managed to find constructive agreements on that subject, but we keep trying. I'm confident that this committee will meet before the summer break, and of course we continue to discuss these matters with the EU extensively.
Baroness Wheatcroft.
My Lords, in negotiating the TCA, the UK government succeeded in putting the UK's extradition arrangements with the EU on a similar unbalanced footing to those with the US. We continue to extradite to the EU. 20 EU countries will not extradite directly here. Could the noble Lord say whether negotiations are going on to try and rectify that?
My Lords, extradition arrangements were indeed quite a large part of the negotiations, and the agreement that we reached with the EU, in our view, in the government's view, deals with many of the defects that were present in the earlier European arrest warrant system. It is part of the standard way that extradition arrangements work that member states can, in certain circumstances, refuse to extradite their own nationals, and some member states have made that clear. We continue to discuss this issue with the Commission and all the member states concerned.
Baroness Hayter of Kentish Town.
My Lords, the multi-layered governance structure referred to by the Noble Earl is not the only thing that needs to be set up under the TCA. The Civil Society Forum and the Domestic Advisory Group are absolutely vital channels into government and indeed the Partnership Council decisions. Now, whilst the UK can't by itself set up the joint forum, it can and surely should establish a domestic advisory group which is going to feed into the forum. So could the Noble Lord the Minister, who is responsible for getting this going, let us know the date when that will happen and assure us that preparations do go a little beyond what he referred to in his written answer to me this week of just engagement with business and civil society. I think it's time for action now.
My Lords, the TCA does, of course, provide for a civil society forum, and it does have to be balanced between UK and EU business and civil society groups to discuss the implementation of the agreement, and we are in touch with the EU about how this is going to work. We will work very much to facilitate its first meeting this year. We are engaging actively with business and civil society domestically, and I'm happy to write to the Noble Baroness about the detail of where that has got to.
Lord Jones of Cheltenham.
Is the Noble Lord making any progress on negotiating a new deal for the creative sector touring Europe? And while he's thinking of a plausible answer to that, when he decided in the negotiations to reject the EU's generous offer and threw touring musicians under a bus, did he anticipate, is he surprised by, or does he accept any responsibility at all for the humiliation of our country scoring 0 point, in the Eurovision Song Contest?
My Lords, I'm happy to accept responsibility for many things, but I don't think I can reasonably have accepted the effect of the result on Saturday night. As regards creatives, of course we work to support all our creative industries in the situation that now prevails under the TCA. We made proposals in the negotiations that would have largely solved the difficulties faced by our great creative industries. The proposals made by the EU would not have done so. So we would be in this situation. We're now working as hard as we possibly can with the Member States to establish the facts about visas and to support our industry in moving forward.
My Lords, the time allowed for this question has elapsed.